And Clayton Keller named a Masterton finalist. All topics that we're going to discuss on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast, so be sure to stay locked in.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back from the weekend, everyone. This is Locked On Coyotes. I'm your host, Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlock. Today's episode brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/NHL60. Use code NHL60 for 60% off plus free shipping. We got a great show for you on today's episode. We're getting you caught up with everything you missed over the weekend while we were off. So we're going to get started. Carl, let's start off with the Frozen Four championship game. More specifically, the University of Minnesota. You got Quinnipiac University. In a way that I was saying, it's like, hey, either way, the Coyotes are winning because you have Sam Lipkin on Quinnipiac and you got Logan Cooley on Minnesota. So it was like, hey.
Isn't there another Coyotes prospect on Minnesota?
There is. It is escaping my brain right now.
Yeah,
early in the morning, my brain is just not. Oh, that's early in the morning for me. But
that's kind of what happens when you're also on the same team as Logan Cooley.
Yes.
You're just like, you're a little bit down in the totem pole. Cal Thomas is
there. We go. Yeah, Cal
Coyotes
Thomas
player from the. Looks like he was from the prior draft.
Yeah, and especially because, like you said, when you're a teammate with Logan Cooley, who was, I believe, runner-up or maybe even third for the Hobie Baker Award, and ended up losing to Adam Fantilli, who is a top prospect in the upcoming draft. But that's a discussion for later. But I mean, let's get to it though, because Logan Cooley unfortunately lost in the championship game, but a lot of his teammates are declaring for the NHL.
Yeah. Minnesota definitely put on a good roster, and there's a lot of players who are ready to make the jump. I do think we should start by congratulating Sam for winning the Frozen Four. Which is
not just that, but being on the Quinnipiac team that wins their first ever Frozen Four.
Yeah. It is kind of like one of those things where, when you have a top prospect, he gets a lot of the attention. And Logan Cooley definitely deserves a lot of that attention. I want to make sure to give, propers to the team that actually won. I do kind of wonder, is Cooley going to sign an ELC? Is he going to go back to university next season? I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer on my end. All kind of depends on what's best for his development.
There is no right or wrong answer on this one. It really is completely up to him, and he owes us no rush. He can take as long as he wants to make this decision. However, I will make a case for signing him. He's not going to do the Luke Hughes route, sign his ELC, and then within the very few amount of games left, and somehow and burn that first year of the ELC by playing for the Coyotes. I do not believe that's
2 games left.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree on that. I don't think there's no way he's going to sign it today, which is when the Coyotes are going to be playing the Kraken. I think the next game is on Thursday. No reason to have him rush for that either.
Exactly. But here is the case for getting him to sign in a sooner rather than later. I use sooner in quotes here, um, because without burning a contract year, he can still be a black ace in for the Calder Cup playoffs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um, that's an interesting one. I didn't think about that. I know his line mate Matthew Nyes is looks like he is going to be signing and going with Toronto. They're going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs, so that makes sense. I hadn't even thought about Cooley joining the Roadrunners in that fashion. Um, yeah, that could be a good experience for him. Uh, I do think it kind of depends on where he is at physically. Like this was his first college season.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the playoffs. We know how often you hear of college or just any hockey player in the playoffs playing hurt. I wonder if he's got like a nagging injury, and they're like, "Let's just have you sit down on that." I'm not sure, but yeah, that's definitely something that I hadn't considered.
It's something that is really fun to think about because you think about not one just him continuing to play and actually being a member of the Coyotes, Tucson fans being able to see him, um, and there's a lot of elements to that. The Roadrunners still have 2 games left, and they're in their regular season, but it's uh, but to see him alongside Josh Doan would be awesome.
Yeah, that would definitely be like, it would be interesting to see how well they can play. It would give Cooley the chance to play, tougher competition. Like the Frozen Four, definitely good, but you're going to get harder competition.
Calder Cup playoffs would be tough.
Yeah,
And speaking of the Calder Cup playoffs, let's actually get to that. We're going to talk about the Tucson Roadrunners clinching spot in just a sec, but I do want to let everyone know that we're going to take a quick word from our sponsors on the show. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now new customers can step up to the plate with a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. With baseball coming back, take a look right now. I know all of you Arizona fans taking a look at the Diamondbacks and their super hot start. If you want to take a see how long they can make this hot start, you can go to FanDuel and make your bets over there. So don't miss your chance to get a no sweat first bet up to a $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. So let's move on, Carl. Talk about the Tucson Roadrunners because over the weekend, they might have still lost both games, but they got to overtime against the Texas Stars uh, on Saturday, and with alongside that, the San Jose Barracuda losing their games over the weekend. Tucson Roadrunners officially clinched the final spot in the Calder Cup playoffs.
not exactly the most,
Glamorous way to get in.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't come in with like a lot of energy, like the Kool-Aid man breaking through a brick wall. So, not exactly the best indicator of how successful they're going to be, but still it's impressive. Making the playoffs is always a good thing, and you never know what's going to happen. Like the playoffs can be crazy. Anyone can bounce. You know, you don't tend to see the last place or the last qualifying team get it. I think what the Kings 2011 2012 was the only time I could really think of at the NHL level. But Yeah, still very impressive. Good that the team's going to get some playoff experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's still some other teams that haven't made it officially clinched it yet, but like they are the seventh seed in the Pacific, and with everybody else having less teams going in, the Calder Cup uh, has completely the Calder Cup playoff format is completely whack, mainly because of how many teams the Pacific Division has. So they kind of have to work with it. Um, but I will say it is super exciting because it is the first time Tucson will get some playoff action in years. They did have that like Pacific Division playoffs like um, in San Diego or Ontario or whatever so a couple years back, but that didn't count as Calder Cup playoffs. First time in the Calder Cup playoffs since 2018, the 2017-2018 season, which was the first year I covered the Roadrunners. Um, so it's been a long time.
It definitely has. And, when you are a program like the Roadrunners, who have seen their best players be taken by the Coyotes over the past 2 seasons, like this is a great chance for the people who are left. Carcone, it's great that he is going to get a shot at the playoffs, in what potentially could be his last AHL season. Who knows?
Oh, I mean, like it. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the last AHL season. You know, Carcone has consistently stayed on top of the AHL in points, 84 points in 63 games played. He's been phenomenal at the AHL level, so I really want to see how he can take on a workload in the Calder Cup, um, especially with the thought that hey, look, if they stay at this seventh seed, which is very likely, I don't think they can uh, get up to. They cannot pass um, Bakersfield at all to get up to yeah. So they're stuck there at seven. So they are all for all intents and purposes here, they are going to be playing the Coachella Valley Firebirds in the first round. If you don't follow the AHL, let me tell you, they are a tough team. I've been following them a little bit. They are a really good team in the Pacific Division. Them and Calgary. It's going to be a hard road.
So I believe Prosvetov was with the Roadrunners at the deadline. I don't did the Coyotes do like a paper transaction to make Michelli eligible or no? Do you remember?
I have to take a look at that. I do not think so. I mean, of course, we'd have to look way back to
Yeah.
see where that goes. Because it was when was the trade deadline? Uh,
Cannot recall. It's been it feels like forever.
I don't see any. I'm looking at cat friendly transactions. I do not see any assignments for Michelli at all. Um, Delphans, Soderstrom, Koyachanak, Kesselring.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean that would have been one of the things I would be interested in if the Coyotes like reassign Michelli, get him some extra playoff experience. But I honestly don't think that's necessary based off of how well he's developed. Yeah, season's coming to an end. Good for the Roadrunners clinching. Happy to see it.
Oh, absolutely. I want to like I said, it's going to be a tough one, but I really think they have it. At least have a chance to look good. I'm going to try to see the 19th and the 21st are the first games. Those are going to be likely in Palm Springs, Palm Desert area, where the Coachella Valley Firebirds play. Because it is only a couple hours drive away. I might I might take the trip over there, cover a game,
Yeah.
see if it's possible. Because I think, you know, I think especially Carl, if Logan Cooley does sign.
Yeah, and I mean, if Logan Cooley signs, it's definitely gonna be worth it. It's not like you're gonna get a chance to see the Coyotes in the playoffs anytime soon.
Yeah. Although I'd really also like to see a whiteout because that Tucson does the whiteout too when they make the playoffs. I mean, at least I know they did in 2018 um, when they uh, um, when they made it to the second round. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But with that said, we will take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, uh, and we will get after that. We'll talk about Clayton Keller for a quick second. So let's hear from the sponsors. So let's go ahead and cap things off, Carl. Let's talk about Clayton Keller. We had an episode mid last week or late last week about Clayton Keller being a someone to look for a Masterton Trophy candidacy. It was just announced this morning that the Arizona chapter of the Professional Hockey Writers Association has officially nominated Clayton Keller to be a finalist for the Masterton Trophy.
Yeah. If you are unaware, each team has one nominee done by the Professional Hockey Writer chapter in their area. Clayton Keller, I think, was pretty much everyone could call it being done by the Arizona chapter. He has truly astounded in a rebound from a very serious injury. You love to see it, and he is setting Coyotes records. He is
Mm-hmm.
currently on pace to surpass Keith Kachuk's most points in a season by a Coyote.
Which is absolutely astonishing. You know, if you were to tell me that he'd have a season like this after the injury that he had, I'd be like, it's like, no. Would I think he'd still be good? Absolutely. Do I
Yeah.
think he'd be breaking records? No. Um,
I mean, I thought he would be able to break his own personal records, like
oh
set
yeah.
some career
I mean,
highs.
because we saw how well he's been playing. He's been moving up. That makes sense.
But especially on the team that he has, you can't say that the power play has been very good. His line mates, sure, he has Nick Schmaltz, who he has great chemistry with. Love seeing him with Barrett Hayton, although they've started to switch that up a little bit. I think especially Seattle did a really good job at shutting down that top line. But yeah, he I think needs 1 point to tie it as of this recording. 2 points will give him the you know sole lead of the record, and with 2 games left, I could easily see him having a multi-point game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's been getting multi-point games for the last like over a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and just thinking back, the ceiling I think people had for Clayton Keller, I think was closer to 70 points. I'm trying to remember. I know Craig Morgan before he went to PHNX when I think he had a Substack.
yeah, the
Um,
Coyotes insider,
yeah,
his own personal.
there was a poll that he did for it's like, hey, where do you anticipate Clayton Keller being? Nick Schmaltz, um, some other players, Christian Dvorak and Jacob Chikrin, players who are no longer with the team. And very few people, I remember, thought the max for Clayton Keller. Now I think the ceiling is could Clayton Keller be a 100-point player with the Coyotes next season? Or the one after that? Possible.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. To see the difference, I think what of management makes and how he's been able to grow
Yeah.
has been great. And I think especially after coming back from an injury, it's no doubt it makes complete sense that he um, has been the Coyotes nominee uh, for the Masterton Trophy, the Arizona nominee for the Masterton Trophy. Um, and the more and more I've thought about it, I think it's really hard to battle with Latang,
Yeah.
who's another finalist. It's just hard when you battle against someone who had a stroke mid-season and lost their dad. Like it's
Yeah. The Masterton Trophy is one of those where like I would almost not want to win it just because it means like
you
horrible things have
you
happened.
went. Yeah, that means like you had to battle something really tough.
Yeah. Or, you know, on a slowly you're just old. In which case that's the only time. I think when Yaga got to like you're still playing and it's very impressive. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. I don't necessarily think Keller's gonna win, but he could be a finalist. I think his season has been strong. That injury was horrifying, and you know those are things that I think make a strong case for him.
He'll definitely get votes,
Yeah,
and he'll definitely be a finalist. Um, it's just at this point, it's just hard for me to see him winning, unfortunately, because I'd love to see him win, but you know, we'd love to see any Coyotes win an award in any sense of the term,
yeah,
but
yeah,
make us happy as much as we can because we've been battling. Coyotes fans have been battling a lot of pain over the last couple of years.
yeah. And I mean the determination and dedication to hockey, like there's definitely an award I would like to see a Coyote win at one point. But also, like I said, it's tough to say that anyone wants to win the Masterton Trophy.
Absolutely. Anything else that you'd like to bring up before we close things off?
Uh, I was at the game where Keller was hurt. I was actually sitting at glass level because of a sponsorship deal, which was I didn't get to see it directly, but the entire atmosphere at Gila River Arena just kind of changed after that, and it really like the entire year pre Keller injury and post, like it's a very clear line. Like the fact that Lawson Krause also sustained a pretty bad injury that knocked him out. I think the week prior, but Keller's just kind of overshadowed everything. So this definitely feels deserved. He has come back from a very bleak situation to have a career year, and I hope that gets some recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think without a doubt, Keller will be getting recognition in some form for that.
Yeah,
Um, his name being at the top of the Coyotes leaderboards for one.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, that is going to be a thing. I hope Keller gets a lot of appreciation for the season he has.
100%. Well, we're out of time on this episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on the social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/lockedoncoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlock is at 5 for Howling. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.